Hey everybody, welcome back to the EMF protection course with Heidi.
And Thaddeus.
And here we are finally with some of the protection strategies you've all been waiting for. We've done a few of them. The big one is, in 5G, how do I buy a house, rent an apartment, build a house? What do I need to know? What does everyone need to know?
I was supposed to ask you that question.
You are?
I was, but you kind of just started on that, so.
Do you even know what the most harmful EMF or microwave radiation is at your home?
Oh my God, don't ever do that.
Oh, I got a text. Oh, I'm on the internet.
Oh my gosh.
Do I need to be taller?
Yes. Oh, much better.
Oh, look at it. That's our intro. You can't call it intro if you say intro. How do you buy a house? Like, what's the first thing people should be looking at?
What should we be looking at? So it's a good question if you're going to rent, buy, whatever. I always recommend, if you can afford it, so especially if you're buying or building, is to hire a building biologist, somebody that knows the ins and outs of all the testing for all the EMF, including geopathic stress.
So that's like the best thing to do and the most expensive?
Definitely.
Okay.
We're going to cost you somewhere between $500 and $1,000 roughly, maybe up to $1,200 to $1,300 max is the prices that I've seen.
Okay.
However, it's very well worth the time to hire a building biologist, even for $1,400. If you're building a brand new home or you're buying a home, you don't want to move into that home and then find out later, like, hey, this is under a high tension power line, right, or there's a cell tower 2 houses away beaming into your bedroom window.
And we have suggestions for building biologists that we can give people?
Yeah, there's a few that we know. There's one, Brian Hoyer, who travels all around the country. So he goes to different cities within the country, tells people ahead of time, and then books all the appointments before he leaves. So
and we had Brian at our house, and he did an amazing job.
He will spend hours going through everything, recording it all on camera and video and on paper, and then take you through every single thing he found, and then give you all the ways to mitigate all EMF that he found. It's phenomenal. He does have access to products that he can recommend, but he can recommend anything either outside or inside of what he does. He can recommend what an electrician needs to know, if you need an electrician or even a plumber to come into your house and fix some things. So it was really well worth that. So I always recommend you do that. If you're going to buy a house, take a building biologist with you, or you're going to build, and they can tell you where the best place to build or buy would be based on all the different factors that are feeding into that.
And Brian even works with the stress lines of the earth. Like, we're not just talking microwaves, radiation, and cell tower stuff. I mean, he geopathic, yeah.
Geopathic stress. So geopathic stress zones are stress zones underneath the earth that some people, and there's some data out there that shows it can cause both stress, potentially cancer, and other things. If you are situated over those stress lines, you or an animal. So animals will avoid those except for cats that sit right on them, and you want to not be on those stress lines.
And some of the ways to mitigate that, what's the pad thing we have up in the...
Well, there's ways that you can get into with your building biologist, but you can move things so you're not situated directly over it. Sometimes you only have to move your bed an inch or two, and there are like different mats and pieces of tech that can mitigate the geopathic stress. So the other thing I recommend...
That's for another video.
...is, I'm not going to do a video on geopathic stress because I don't know anything about it, but if you want one, tell us and Brian Hoyer will do the video. I will not. So these are the meters. I would recommend renting, borrowing, or buying meters if you're doing any kind of apartment searching, home buying, home building. They usually come with one of these cards, and this tells you the safe levels of radiation. Hopefully that wasn't in German. Nope, that's the English side. The other side is German. And it will tell you the safe level of electric field, magnetic field, and radio frequency or microwave radiation on this card. And then each of these 3 meters then is used to get a number that you can match up to red, yellow, or green and tell you if it's good, bad, or really awful, extreme, get away. So again, an electric meter, a magnetic meter, and a microwave meter. You will want to have all of these things, and you'll want to do some baselines of a home or an area like in the city or something where it's really unsafe, or there's cell towers and lots of craziness. So you kind of see what the readings are, and then go out to a home in the country or somewhere out in the woods on a hike like we did today, and use the meters again and see what the numbers are. So you kind of know what the absolute lowest numbers should be and what the highest numbers might be that you're finding on your meters, and then start going home to home if you're buying, or in your chosen building site, or in your apartment, and finding, like, you might find like 10 apartments that are the worst of the worst and 2 or 3 apartments in the building that are actually really good. So they might have a bank of smart meters on the back of your head because they're on the outside of the building there. You might have a neighbor that their bedroom, they've got their Wi-Fi router right where you sleep in your bedroom along that wall. Those are all things to pay attention to, and these meters will help you find those things.
Right, so really investigating the neighborhood, looking around. I mean, maybe first just go look around, right?
Yeah.
See where the cell towers are.
So you may
apps out there.
You may be able to
can
find. Yep, and I'm going to show you an app. So I'm going to open my phone's on airplane. I'm going to have to turn it off airplane for a second. I will show you this app. See if I can do that.
I'll just sit here and wait.
So this app is called Open Signal, and it points to the cell tower that my phone is connected to. So I can figure out where that cell tower is. Now, obviously, if I'm moving, it's going to connect to a different cell tower depending on which one is closest. But this is telling me where the cell tower my phone is connected to. And I can do a map where it can tell me the coverage area in 3G, 2G, and 4G of the area that I live in. And it will tell me exactly where some of the cell towers are that are providing the most coverage. But it also, if you notice the map, it'll tell you areas where you should be looking to find a house where there's no coverage. And that, I think, is the beauty of this. There are other apps out there as well that will tell you where the cell towers are that the company is authorized to put on these maps. Let me turn this back on to airplane mode. That's not necessarily going to tell you where every meter is. And when we get to the 5G meters, they may not tell you where the 5G meters are. They may be directly in front of your house. And none of these meters will be able to measure 5G.
Right.
These only go up to about 8 gigahertz of detection. So this will detect anything up to 8 gigahertz. Now 5G goes from 6 gigahertz to 90 gigahertz. It's $130,000 for a 5G meter. There's probably only a few in existence, and they're astronomically expensive. I don't know if those will ever come down, but there's other ways to measure. So one of the tools that I'm not showing you here is body voltage. So you can take a little meter like this that has a little antenna and touch it to your body. It'll read the voltage your body is picking up from the environment and storing. The more cellular radiation or electric radiation, electric field, or magnetic field you're hit with, the more your body voltage will go up. And so that little meter can then measure if your body voltage is very high, you've got some sort of an EMF issue in the area that you're in. And you'll find, like when you're out in nature or you're grounded, that body voltage will go to 0, almost always. And so what you're looking for, if you can get the body voltage meter, it's probably well worth the time, because that'll tell you if you got 5G antennas around you. You want to be everywhere away from 5G antennas.
Right.
Okay.
What else do we need to know about buying a house, renting a...
Yeah, so I think the other important things, if you're going to go out and do this, is there's portable solutions to block EMF. So these are passive solutions like the shielding fabric. So you could put shielding fabric, which is made from silver or stainless steel or other things, as curtains up on your windows. You could even use tinfoil.
Wait, and back up, because we're talking about the bedroom.
We're just talking about, you can do that anywhere that you want to block radiation.
But you recommend specifically the bedroom first, if you're going to do whatever first.
I recommend whatever room you stay in the longest. Okay. So if you're home and you sleep for 3 hours, but you spend 9 hours in your home office, I would recommend your home office gets that. But usually for 95% of people, that will be your bedroom that you want to block first with the curtains, so that they block EMF from coming in the window. And you can then use the same material to put a canopy around your bed. And so you can put like a canopy that surrounds your bed. That's, again, a passive solution that'll block the EMF from getting into your bed and where you're sleeping, so you can properly recover. And of course for your kids as well. And
we're working through like sourcing that for people, the canopy?
So I do have a source for the canopy that blocks up to 40 gigahertz. This is huge. I haven't seen anything block that high before.
Oh, wow.
So we're sourcing that from Brian Hoyer. So we'll have links to that with a discount code.
Awesome.
That you can go there to buy those canopy materials and shielding materials. And we're also working to source another material. I don't know if it'll work out, but we're trying to source a stainless steel material. I haven't tested it yet, so I'm going to source it, see if it works.
Yep.
So you want to shield your bed, and you want to shield your curtains. You ideally want to shield the walls in your bedroom. So there is shielding paint that you can also get with a discount through Brian Hoyer's Shielded Healing site, through our discount code, and you can paint the entire wall with the shielding paint, and that will shield your entire bedroom or your entire home with the shielding paint. It's fairly expensive, for a bedroom. It's about $1,000 to do the shielding paint, and it's not portable. So if you move, obviously the paint stays. If you buy a canopy and some of the curtains, those go with you.
Right.
So think about where you're moving and for how long you'll be there. If you're in apartments, you're looking at canopy solutions and the curtains. Okay, so the other things you want to look for if you're looking for a home is metal. So metal blocks nearly all of EMF. So metal siding,
right.
Metal roofing, that type of a deal with a house, if you're going to build or buy, like if it's got something like that already on it, that's great. Like that's great news for you because it's going to block a lot of that stuff and you don't have to do any other mitigation strategies. The other thing people do is when they're building a home, they might put in like lead paint, lead drywall, or old barn wood that's coated with lead paint that they'll lacquer over.
I thought lead paint was dangerous.
Yeah, lead paint is dangerous. So you will have to disclose.
Don't eat it.
You're going to have to disclose that when you sell your house too, which is
Right.
going to bring the value of your house down, potentially. So think about that. Some people are putting lead line drywall and other lead materials in their homes. I'm not sure that I'm all in on that yet,
Okay.
but it's something to look into. The other thing is mu metal. Mu metal is a material, Mu metal, you can look it up, and what it does is it blocks magnetic fields. There are very few materials in the world that can block magnetic fields.
And the mu metal is in the Hara pads that we showed
That's right.
people earlier.
Yep, that's a secret, don't tell anyone.
Oh.
Proprietary. So mu metal, what people do when they build is they'll wire their home with the cables of all the wiring wrapped in the mu metal coating. So it's like a, I don't know what it looks like when it's wrapped around a wire, but when you wrap it around the wire, it blocks the magnetic field coming off of that wire completely. So as you wire your entire walls, you'll get no magnetic fields coming out of the wall from the electricity. So very elegant solution if you can do that. In addition, hardwire all of your cable internet. So if you've got landlines, you're gonna wire all the landlines through your entire home, so you can have a landline or a router in every single room to hard connect everything to without Wi-Fi. So therefore, you can get away with 100% Wi-Fi free home if you do this up front.
So if you're building a new home, that would be a good idea to think that through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the other thing that you want to think about when you're buying, building, renting, whatever, is trees. So as we just showed people today, we took this radio frequency meter with us out into the forest on a hike, and we went out into the woods and it registered 0. This is the first time I've ever seen it register absolutely nothing. No numbers popped up whatsoever. That is awesome. The more trees you're surrounded by, the less EMF, assuming there's not a cell tower hidden in one of those trees.
Pine trees specifically.
All trees will block EMF, but pine trees absolutely block the most based on what we've heard and seen measured. So we have done some measurement around pine trees ourselves, and all trees are grounded, so they're going to take those fields and put them into the ground and get them into the earth as well.
Right.
Okay, what else would you like to know? Water. Water is one of the best ways to block EMF.
So take lots of baths.
Take lots of baths. Absolutely. I recommend that. So when we get into the EHS, or electrohypersensitivity individuals, we're going to give you some tips on how to mitigate EMF no matter where you are. So water. Anytime you can get in a body of water. So if you've got a home, build a hot tub or a pool, because the more you're in that water, a hot tub, a pool, a bath, the less EMF, the more your body can detox and repair itself.
Because the water acts as a Faraday cage?
Water is one of the best Faraday cages known to man.
Okay.
It's helpful if your pool is grounded in some way. And it helps if you are grounded to dump all those fields and be connected to the earth and gain those electrons. So in any way, there are tricks that you can use to ground ungroundable pools that are lined with plastic. And it basically, you drive an 8-foot copper rod into the ground like you're grounding your electric panel. And you just take a copper wire and you go from the ground rod in the ground into your pool, and then it is technically grounded in your pool, just like your ground wiring. Awesome. Or your hot tub or whatever it is. So the more you can surround yourself by water or get into water with whatever you're doing, the better off you're going to be. The other thing is population density. So what do we know about like more people in an area? Like if we saw the videos of cell phones when we turned it on and how this meter spikes.
Right.
Now imagine 50,000 people all turning their cell phones on or having them on 24 hours a day and all that microwave pollution all around you. Then they've got to create towers to connect all those people because they're stationary in one spot living there. So there's going to be a lot more radiation in huge population centers. So getting outside of those into the country and away from population centers is going to drive your microwave radiation and all your EMF down significantly.
How about if like somebody doesn't want to live so rural, can they just like find small towns safer than big towns? Like what's the differentiation?
Yeah, you have to test. So that's really critical. Like small town is almost always better, but until you test, you don't know. Like if your small town is between Austin and Dallas, they're connected through the mesh network of radio frequency.
Okay.
And so if you live in between those, between the air traffic and the radio, the sonar and the television and the Wi-Fi and everything connecting to each other between those two big cities, you're going to be crunched in there, and you're going to be just as bad potentially as being, maybe not as bad as being in the city, but you're going to get all that crosstalk. So what you want to do is find a population center that's not between two close cities, so that you're not getting all this stuff kind of crossing back and forth between those cities. That's something you won't know until you start measuring with these devices as well.
And we're going to talk about schools. I think we're going to wait for a different episode. So.
Yep, kids in schools and what to think about and look for there.
And obviously, if you like see a school and there's a big cell tower on top of it, probably don't send your child to that school.
Well, yeah, I think we linked to the California school that had 2 teachers and 4 students come down with cancer because they put a cell tower in the schoolyard. And it was there for 6 years, and the students that had gotten the cancer and the teachers were the ones that had been in that school for all of those 6 years.
Wow.
And so that's just, you do not want to be around those.
But isn't that the kind of the creepy thing about microwave, radiation, is that it creeps up. It's like, it's not an immediate thing, so people, like, you don't see damaging health effects right away. It's over long term.
Some people can be damaged very easily and quickly, but most people, it's going to take anywhere from 1 to 10 years before the effects of the microwaves are going to show up in your biology. That's really challenging to know. So you don't want to just say, well, I feel fine now. Well, 10 years from now, you might get a rare form of brain cancer, and that's what we want to avoid, of course.
Well, and, Thaddeus talks a lot on his Instagram page about not waiting until you're sick to find out, like, why you're getting sick, right? Like, take preventative measures and be thinking about your surroundings, be thinking about your environment and your nutrition and, other things.
If you do all this now, you don't have to get sick, hopefully. I mean, or at least you can mitigate it for as long as possible. Why wait till you're dying to decide to get healthy? That's just not how things should work. So those are the main things you want to look for: is look for overhead power lines, look for where the cell towers are, look for where the 5G build out is going to be, and try to get away from those population centers. Try to make sure there's some metal shielding and trees and forest and all these things around you. And then, of course, if you have the ability, shield your walls. You can use metal siding, metal roof, you can use the shielding paint, you can use canopies, you can use the fabric. There's lots of ways to shield if you need to shield. But ideally, you don't have to shield at all because you're living in an area where there isn't that much radiation. So again, you may need to shield. There's tons of technologies. We can link you to all of those that you can use. It's best to hire a building biologist to help you through all these things. But that's kind of the summary of what you're going to want to think about and look for.
Let us know your questions, and we'll try to incorporate those in another video.
Okay, till next time.
Bye.